In late November 2025, northern Sumatra was struck by a disaster of historic scale. What began as a series of ominous weather warnings quickly escalated into a full-blown catastrophe, catching many communities off guard and unprepared for the sheer magnitude of what was to come. A powerful cyclone unleashed relentless rain, turning rivers into torrents and triggering deadly flash floods and landslides. The downpour was unceasing, with rainfall totals shattering previous records and overwhelming the region's natural defenses. Within hours, entire landscapes were transformed as water surged through valleys and lowlands. Entire villages vanished beneath water and mud, while hillsides collapsed, burying homes and lives. The force of the mudslides was so intense that even sturdy structures were swept away, leaving behind only debris and heartbreak. Survivors described the terrifying roar of earth and water as everything familiar disappeared in moments. The devastation was immediate and overwhelming, families separated, communities destroyed, and the death toll rising by the day. Many people were forced to flee with nothing but the clothes on their backs, searching desperately for missing loved ones amid the chaos. The sense of loss and confusion was palpable across the region. By month's end, over 300 people were confirmed dead, with hundreds still missing and countless families left in anguish. Makeshift shelters sprang up to house the displaced, while rescue teams combed through rubble and mud in hopes of finding survivors. The emotional toll on the affected communities was immeasurable. This tragedy stands as one of the deadliest in Sumatra's modern history, exposing the region's vulnerability to extreme weather. Compared to previous disasters, the scale and speed of this event were unprecedented, leaving experts and locals alike grappling with the new reality of intensifying storms. The cyclone-driven floods are part of a larger climate crisis demanding urgent global attention. Scientists warn that such extreme events are becoming more frequent and severe as the planet warms, putting millions at risk and challenging the resilience of vulnerable communities worldwide. For Indonesia, the disaster is a test of emergency response and a wake-up call for greater resilience. Authorities and volunteers mobilized rapidly, but the scale of destruction highlighted the urgent need for better infrastructure, early warning systems, and long-term planning to protect lives and livelihoods. As rescue teams work tirelessly, the focus is on saving lives and confronting the urgent questions of preparedness and climate adaptation. The road to recovery will be long, but the spirit of solidarity and determination among the people of Sumatra offers hope for a more resilient future. The storm's wrath swept across Aceh, North Sumatra, and West Sumatra, each province facing its own nightmare. What began as a distant rumble quickly escalated into a relentless force of nature, leaving little time for communities to prepare. The skies darkened, winds howled, and torrential rain battered the land, transforming familiar landscapes into scenes of chaos and destruction. North Sumatra suffered the most, with 166 dead and 147 missing. Its cities and farmlands transformed into disaster zones. Streets that once bustled with life were submerged beneath muddy waters, and entire neighborhoods vanished overnight. Rescue workers braved treacherous conditions, searching for survivors amid the debris, while families clung to hope for news of their loved ones. West Sumatra lost at least 90 lives, with 87 missing, as its scenic valleys became fields of mud and ruin. The region's lush hillsides, once a source of pride and beauty, were scarred by landslides and floodwaters. Emergency responders worked tirelessly, often risking their own safety, to reach isolated villages and provide aid to those stranded by the disaster. In Aceh, 47 perished, and 55 remain unaccounted for, compounding hardship in a region already marked by resilience. The people of Aceh, no strangers to adversity, found themselves once again mourning lost family members and neighbors, their grief echoing through communities already shaped by past tragedies. The combined toll is staggering, stretching across hundreds of kilometers and affecting every layer of society. From the youngest children to the elderly, no one was spared from the storm's impact. The devastation was not confined to a single area, it rippled outward, touching countless lives and leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Beyond the numbers, hundreds of thousands were displaced, forced into evacuation centers, and left to face an uncertain future. Families huddled together in makeshift shelters, clutching what little they could save, uncertain when, or if, they would return home. The sense of loss was overwhelming, but so too was the determination to survive. Infrastructure was obliterated, roads, bridges, and entire communities cut off or destroyed. Vital connections between towns and villages were severed, making it nearly impossible for aid to reach those most in need. The scale of the destruction posed immense challenges for both local authorities and international relief teams. Urban centers and remote villages alike were inundated, with markets, schools, and homes lost to the floodwaters. The daily routines of life, work, education, community gatherings, were abruptly halted, replaced by the urgent struggle for survival and the daunting task of recovery. The emotional and psychological scars run deep, uniting the people of these provinces in shared tragedy. In the face of overwhelming loss, communities came together, offering comfort and support to one another. The bonds of solidarity grew stronger, even as the pain of loss lingered. Now, they face the monumental task of rebuilding from the ground up. The road ahead is long and uncertain, but the spirit of resilience endures. With each day, survivors take small steps toward recovery, determined to restore not just their homes, but the hope and strength of their communities. The floods didn't just destroy property, they shattered daily life across Sumatra. Transportation networks collapsed, isolating communities and blocking aid. Power outages plunged vast areas into darkness, cutting off communication and leaving survivors vulnerable. Cell towers failed, making it nearly impossible for families to reconnect or for rescuers to coordinate. Markets, shops, and farms were wiped out, paralyzing the local economy and erasing livelihoods. Schools and workplaces closed, and the struggle for food, water, and medical care became desperate. The silence and darkness deepened the sense of fear and isolation. For many, survival became a daily battle, with every basic need a challenge. The disaster turned a natural event into a complex humanitarian crisis, testing the resilience of all affected. President Prabowo Subianto responded swiftly, expressing national sorrow and promising immediate action. He mobilized the military, search and rescue teams, and disaster agencies, prioritizing evacuation and aid. The government bypassed bureaucracy to speed up relief, focusing on food, medicine, and shelter for survivors. Prabowo's direct involvement unified the nation, reassuring citizens that every effort was being made. A national emergency declaration was under consideration, but the response was already in full force. The president's leadership became a symbol of solidarity and hope in Indonesia's darkest hour. Delivering aid to Sumatra's isolated communities became a race against time and nature. Entire villages were cut off by floodwaters, with roads and bridges washed away, leaving thousands stranded and desperate for help. The scale of the disaster was overwhelming, and every hour counted as supplies dwindled and conditions worsened. With roads destroyed and weather still dangerous, the military launched a massive air and sea operation. Convoys of trucks navigated treacherous terrain where possible, while teams worked around the clock to coordinate logistics and prioritize the most urgent needs. Hercules C-130s and an Airbus A400 flew in supplies, carrying food, water, and medical equipment. Military helicopters braved fierce winds and torrential rain, landing in remote villages that had not seen outside help for days. Pilots and crew risked their lives to ensure aid reached those who needed it most. The Indonesian Navy deployed warships to serve as command centers and deliver aid to coastal areas. These ships became lifelines, bringing not only supplies but also communication and medical support to devastated communities along the coast. Soldiers and volunteers trekked for hours through mud, debris, and flooded fields, carrying essentials on their backs. In many places, they formed human chains to pass boxes of food and water across broken bridges and unstable ground, determined to reach every stranded family. Every delivery was hard-won, a testament to the determination and resilience of those on the front lines. Relief workers pushed through exhaustion and danger, often working with little rest, driven by the hope of saving lives and reuniting families. Despite immense obstacles, the operation saved countless lives and brought hope to the hardest-hit regions. Medical teams treated the injured, while grateful survivors received food, clean water, and the reassurance that they were not forgotten. The scale of the response showcased Indonesia's emergency capabilities under extreme pressure. Coordination between military, government, and volunteers was crucial, and their combined efforts made a real difference in the face of overwhelming adversity. Yet, the challenges underscored the need for even greater preparedness in the future. As climate disasters grow more frequent, building stronger infrastructure and response systems will be vital to protect vulnerable communities and save lives. As the world learned of Sumatra's tragedy, international condolences poured in. Russian President Vladimir Putin sent a formal message to President Prabowo, expressing deep sympathy for the loss of life and destruction. Putin's words, shared widely in Indonesia, acknowledged both the human and material toll of the disaster. His message offered solidarity and hope, affirming Russia's support for Indonesia in its time of need. Such gestures remind a grieving nation that it is not alone, and that the world stands ready to help. Diplomatic compassion, though symbolic, can offer real comfort in the darkest moments. Putin's message carried extra weight due to his recent meeting with President Prabowo. Just months earlier, the two leaders met at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, forging a personal connection. Their dialogue went beyond formalities, building rapport that now deepens the meaning of Russia's support. In diplomacy, such relationships matter, especially in times of crisis. Putin's condolences were not just protocol, but a genuine gesture to a leader he had come to know. For Indonesia, this affirmed its global standing and the value of international partnerships. The message reinforced the bridge built in St. Petersburg, turning tragedy into an opportunity for deeper ties. It's a reminder that diplomacy is about shared humanity, not just politics. Putin's message is part of a larger wave of global solidarity that follows disasters like Sumatra's. While national response is crucial, international support often becomes a lifeline when crises overwhelm local capacity. Condolences signal that the world is watching and ready to help, countering the isolation of disaster. Tangible aid soon follows: financial support, rescue teams, medical supplies, and expertise. Long-term recovery depends on sustained global cooperation, from rebuilding infrastructure to enhancing resilience. International organizations and governments play a vital role in helping communities recover and prepare for future threats. For survivors, knowing the world cares brings psychological comfort and renewed hope. In tragedy, global connection becomes a source of strength. As the waters recede, Sumatra's people begin the long journey to recovery. The spirit of gotong royong, mutual cooperation, will drive communities to rebuild together. Neighbors will clear mud, repair homes, and restore local life, supported by the nation and the world. Ongoing aid and attention are essential, not just in the headlines, but throughout the entire recovery. Glimmers of hope shine in acts of bravery, kindness, and the unbreakable will to survive. This tragedy is a national wound, but also a chance to build a stronger, more resilient Indonesia. With unity and determination, Sumatra will rise again.